And welcome back to another Love and Action Network TV and podcast event. It's Deconstruction Junction with Dr. Flo and Tara Praolo. Hope that you all are having a wonderful week wherever you are. We're sending you love. I'm Dr. Flo, once again, not telling you what I heard, but what I know. What I know is that you're loved and lovable. You've always been loved and lovable, and you're going to be loved and lovable for the rest of your life. And I'm a champion for your dreams. If you're believing in something bigger for your life, if you're believing for something grander, if you're trying to become bigger in your expression, if you're trying to express more in your bank account and in your creative place, I might be the guy that could help. And of course, I'm joined every week by another helper, the fabulous Tara Praolo Studio. Introduce yourself to the crowd.
Hello, people. I'm Tara Praolo. I'm your resident Black, biracial, multi-passionate musician. I talk about the ish that nobody wants to talk about and push you to do the same. Forewarning, my voice sounds a little funny today, but I promise that I'm okay. I'm feeling okay. She just went down over the weekend. She was like, lay me down. But she came back for I Speak Tuesdays. Dr. Flo mentioned earlier to his Instagram audience, where we're behind the scenes, to share it out, and that maybe one of you listening, whether this is the replay or you're here with us live, maybe one of you would want to come deconstruct some of the things that you're seeing in the world, or just share your experiences with deconstruction, or something that you want to talk about. We would love to have some other people. We have space for, I believe, three or four other people on Restream. So, which is what we're using, free game, okay? And I heard tell that there's more free game coming from Dr. Flo in the coming weeks, free and donation based. So just stay tuned for all of that. But if you are interested in being a co-host on any section of the podcast, that's Daily Boost, this, Deconstruction Junction, Love and Truth, you want to be interviewed for Love and Truth, feel free to submit an application at lovedandlovable.bio.link. I think I did that correct.
Yeah, but only bring yourselves if you're honest, open, willing, and available. Some of y'all lie like a rug. You claim that you're honest, you claim that you're open, you claim that you're willing, you claim that you're available, and then when it comes time to put the money on the counter, when it comes time to show up for the call, when it comes time to do the attendance and things like that and the accountability exercises, you start telling me how I'm disrespectful to you and your dreams. I'm not the one that's disrespecting your dream and your message. It's you shutting down. So only come to be our next guest host or to even be around us if you're prepared to put up or shut up, because there are really important conversations that need to be had right now, and some of y'all are mumbling. We need people who are saying, like, yo, I stand for something. I've got something to say. Freedom for all, unapologetically. And so, yeah, Tara has the casserole. I'm the guy saying, like, don't even eat it if you're allergic to love and truth. Tara Praolo has an amazing gift in our network of putting the casserole neatly on the table. But if you're allergic to nuts, don't eat it.
Don't eat it.
Don't eat it. And speaking of nuts, let's talk about Patti LuPone.
Did I even spell Patty's name right? I don't even know. I just typed it.
Right.
So I dubbed this Patti LuPone's racism. I was going to dub it like Broadway drama, but it's not Broadway drama. It is Patti LuPone's racism towards Audra McDonald and who was the other person?
Keisha Lewis.
Yes, thank you. And if you go to the next slide, there's a little blurby. There's some blurbs. So and the second one actually links out to the Black Girl with Books. I think should link out to that post. But essentially, I believe Patti LuPone was being interviewed and said, you know, here's the problem. She calls herself a veteran. Let's find out how many Broadway shows Keisha Lewis has done, because she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. And then she Googled it and she says she's done 7. I've done 31. Don't call yourself a vet, bitch. The correct numbers are actually 10 and 28, but who's counting? She explained of the noise problem. This is not unusual on Broadway. This happens all of the time when walls are shared. I mentioned that Audra McDonald, the Tony decorated Broadway star, had given the video supportive emojis. Exactly, Lapone said. And I thought, you should know better. That's typical of Audra. She's not a friend. Hard D. The two singers had some long ago rift, Lapone said, but she didn't want to elaborate. When I asked what she thought of McDonald's current production of Gypsy, she stared at me in silence for 15 seconds. Then she turned to the window and sighed. What a beautiful day. So I think you can see where this is going. And the other thread that I included was from Miss Pacchietti, which was the one that I reposted. And it says, Patti LuPone is mad because Patti LuPone could never. If she could, she would have done it already. Y'all keep flying too close to the sun and getting burned. We don't play about Miss Audra, beloved. And there's a picture of Audra McDonald, of an article that says Audra McDonald is the most Tony-nominated performer in Broadway history, thanks to her nomination for playing Rose, how do you say that, Halvick, in the current Broadway revival of Gypsy. McDonald has reached 11 nominations, breaking her free of the 10 nominations pack with which she was previously grouped. Previously, McDonald was tied with the late Julie Harris and Chita Riviera, and for the performer with the most Tony nominations. McDonald became the most awarded performer in Tony history in 2014 with 6 wins. Thoughts, I guess. I mean, racism on full display. We're not shocked. I think this is the thing that, like, I think there's some people looking in that are shocked that someone as high up in the industry as Patti LuPone would speak like this. But I don't know why you all are shocked when people are saying that we're cheering for, quote, Daddy Trump to come back into office. So, like, this is...
Daddy Trump?
Daddy Trump, quote unquote. I thought on TikTok, this person was like, yay, Daddy Trump's back in office. And I don't know why I got fed to my thing this morning, but I was like, y'all,
Interesting. Patti has been notoriously in the industry a bully and a notorious asshole as well. She has disrespected audience members. She has said very crass and rude things. And none of this comes as a surprise. I really would like to know what the rift and beef is with Audra, because I'm sure that Audra's narrative would come out on top. This is a woman who has had to be in a viper's nest, often the only person of color in a show, and still has poise and grace and a dignity to her that I do not possess.
Audra is, my God.
Yeah, she is
beauty and she is grace. Okay,
she's exceptionally talented, and Patti is a hater, man.
Patti is a hater.
You could have your own Tony, your own fan base. You know, you could be commanding top billing and top rate in the highest of theater in the country and still be a hater. Right. And I don't think that a lot of people are talking about that enough. That, like, you would think that once you, like, ascend past community theater or church theater or church gigs or whatever, you know, I'm not trying to put those in a line. I'm just saying that you would think that once you got out of the pre-professional, semi-professional, total professional arena, like, once you cross that bridge, it would turn into a space where we're just supporting one another because it takes a lot to work at that level. Instead of lifting up and saying, like, yo, to be on Broadway, and I've done it, it's hard work. Mostly navigating the personalities of the people who are around you. The singing itself and the acting itself and the dancing itself is not depending on what you're playing and what you're doing, it can really vary. But I found the personalities of people like Patty LuPone, which are in every level of the business, they're insufferable. They're mean girls who make it very, very hard on top of Audra's allergies, on top of her rigorous vocal, schedule. If memory serves me correctly, and y'all can DM me or message me if I'm off base, Patty LuPone has done this role before. So an empathetic heart would be of understanding that it's rough. And I want to support you in your take. But see, the drama of it is that Audra McDonald said that Patty LuPone's version of this character could not live in her body because Patty LuPone's experience as a white woman is vastly different than the direction that Audra's taking it as a black woman. This is the first time that this role has ever been done by a black woman, and it's being lauded as the second coming of Black Jesus, because once you put a colorism and racism lens on top of anything, it starts to dig at a deeper hurt and conversation. We also know notoriously on Broadway that the white people who feel like shadowed or placed in silo by larger black talent, they don't want us to be black excellence. They don't want us, I'm sure that in some stages and arenas, Audra is commanding a higher rate than Patty LuPone is right now. This is peak jealousy. And people who can't call it what it is, white mediocrity and white jealousy, she's essentially, because right now, and for those of you who don't follow Broadway news, there's a contentious battle for that particular Tony. You got Nicole Scherzinger, the former Pussycat Doll, who's over at Sunset Boulevard singing her ass off. And she is running toe-to-toe with Audra for this particular award. And it was going to be a toss-up until Patty opened her stupid mouth.
Also, just to add a layer, Patty LuPone won a Tony Award for playing Mama Rose in the 2008 Broadway revival of Gypsy. Just
right, but what I've heard from everybody, from people who I know in the business to Oprah Winfrey on stage, backstage, the way in which Audra tells stories is remarkable, to like the way in which she's gifted to tell many different kinds of stories. And she's not afraid as a performer, a classically trained performer like us. She is not afraid to go deep into the emotions of a script. Patty LuPone wants you to like watch her and know that she can sing and that she's Broadway royalty and icon, all that stuff.
Right. And Patty LuPone is one that has tried on, much like a Miley Cyrus and all of the other white singers that you can imagine, tries on other ethnicities and religions in order to make themselves more special, right? I read a thread and I lost track of it, but essentially saying that Patty LuPone has accepted roles because she quote unquote looks Jewish, but she's not Jewish. She's like Italian Catholic or something. So like she's been doing this for years, adopting this, and this is something she cannot adopt because she will not ever be black. And so, as you said earlier, she's
that way.
Jealous. She's purely jealous of what is happening on Broadway, and perhaps just angry that Audra's performance is overshadowing her own from, almost 20 years ago.
It's also giving bitter. It's giving bitter. Like, we have not mentioned yet that Audra is the most Tony decorated performer in 4 categories in all of history. The top Tony winner
is Audra. Yeah, we read that. That's right. That was in the Pac Yeti, Brittany Packnett. post. She's won 6 times, I think, and that makes her the most awarded performer, and then she's also the most nominated performer with 11 nominations.
So it's giving bitterness on Patty's part that she probably has felt for her years in the business that she deserved more recognition, but no one wants to recognize a notorious asshole.
Right.
And
right.
she could have kept her mouth shut, but now she made everything that which more steep for her. Like there will be people in the business who will praise her for being rude. She's getting a lot of claps from very pale looking Broadway people, and they will come out and scream for her and support her, and it's all good, I guess, except that like we see how industry people and musicians and beyond are responding to her bad behavior.
Yeah.
And I'm not impressed
at all. I liked that you shared one that said like it was a clip from a show or a movie, and it's like, "Shut up, Patty."
That's from Will and Grace.
Girl,
that's when Jack was like, "Shut up, Patty LuPone," because she was just chiming in the episode. And Patty's done television cameos, serious roles, not so serious roles. Like she is a very known person in the business. She's not really showing the younger kids a positive path to take.
Especially when you look at Audra, who has also been in movies and has had iconic roles in the public eye. Like Audra was the wardrobe in Beauty and the Beast.
Remember when they were making that problematic ass Carrie Underwood into the lead in Sound of Music? And Audra was Mother Superior, and she sang "Down, Climb Every Mountain." Have you never heard Audra's "Climb Every Mountain"?
No, I have not. But I'm gonna go save it on the YouTubies. I'm gonna go save it.
She was in a whole habit as a nun in Sound of Music Live.
Every mountain. Audra McDonald.
Y'all have to find some respect. Find it quickly. All right, let's move forward into the changes over on Clubhouse. For those of us who are in the high school, and for those of you who've been following us through social media and our evolution through social media for the last 4 years, you will know that Tara and I met on an app called Clubhouse. We met a lot of people on Clubhouse, hundreds, thousands, too many to mention unless they are in the book or in some part of the story still involved. But this week, they introduced premium features that allows for people to kind of creep and kind of sneak around in the nosy ways that humans like to. And I just wanted to open up a discussion about what you feel about. We've talked for hours in rooms and privately about this. Essentially, for those of you who are not familiar with the story, they have given people a $4.99 subscription that allows them to be anonymous, like a person driving down the street in their car listening to the radio, in audiences. They've also given you the ability to essentially turn your profile into a link tree and a bunch of different things. My question is, do you think this is going to spur more community and a deeper conversation for us in our network and also the world at large from what you see, Paola?
I don't think so. I think, and I've said this in every room, in every space, that I think it defeats the purpose of Clubhouse, which has always said that their goal was to encourage communication and encourage conversation. And I don't see how being an anonymous person encourages communication. I also, there was some argument, it wasn't an argument, but somebody was making the argument that, it's good that you can have the viewer, you can see who views your profile because then you can see who removed you from the room. Girl, I don't care like if you remove me from the room, I don't want to come back. Like I wasn't welcome there. I don't feel welcomed at your table. I don't want to be at your table.
Mhm.
So it don't matter to me, right? And I hope you blocked me so I never see you again. Like the same thing that I would do to anybody that came into my room, and I did the same too, right?
Mhm.
So to me, I think it's an attempt to, if I look at it from a marketing perspective, why do people introduce premium and introduce extra features? It is to make the app relevant, right? In the same way that Instagram will introduce a feature and then everybody's talking about it on threads and Instagram for days on end, right? And then we adapt, and then things die down again, and then it comes back up. I think the problem with this particular one is that people can already go on Clubhouse and be anonymous. And Clubhouse was a hard sell even back in the day, right? Like to get people onto Clubhouse, even back when it was just invite only, it was hard to convince people to come try the app, right? And then it was harder to convince people to continue to come to the app. And so when you are introducing something that doesn't encourage conversation, because as an anon person, you cannot speak, you cannot type, you can only use GIFs and send emojis. That's all you can do. I don't see that helping Clubhouse. After the conversation dies down, I think there's a town hall today or tomorrow. Like after the conversation around Clubhouse Premium dies down, I think that Clubhouse will die right back down again. And the people that are remaining there are the people that are, doing the same thing that they've always done. I got up super early this morning and I saw the House of Creativity was still doing their morning room, their early morning room. Same thing. I went in, same thing that they've always done, right? And I just don't. Yeah, I don't see how Clubhouse, what's it called? Premium, with their
Plus.
Clubhouse Plus, with their gold pluses, encourages more users on their app, which I have to think is the goal. If your goal is money, you want more users so you can get more data, right? And I just don't.
Right.
Think that that's happening. I didn't see any discussion about it on threads. I didn't see any discussion about it on any other platform, right? Except for Clubhouse, which means that the job was not well done.
They fired a huge section of their team and then never grew the product anymore. Strange. I don't think that we're quite out of the weeds. I don't think that we know everything about the last 4 years, and I think that more will come out about exactly what's going on here. And I too am looking forward to the town hall today and the way in which they try to dodge the realities of what's happening on that social media platform. All right, it's on you. All about
George Floyd. Yeah.
George.
So, and you can go to the next slide. Essentially, I just want to recognize that this is the 5-year anniversary. It was actually Sunday. May 25th is the date that he was murdered. And this just says, it's from Zelly Imani. It says George Floyd should still be alive. Justice isn't a courtroom win or a payout. It's a world where police don't get to kill us in the first place. And I really, there was a lot that was being shared on Sunday and throughout this week that has been shared, but I don't see this point centered enough, that last point. It's a world where police don't get to kill us in the first place. And I remember in 2020, that was a real focus, right? Was like, it's not reforming police departments or the way the police run. It's abolishing them. It is changing the world. And George Floyd's daughter said, "Daddy changed the world." And for a short time, when people were actually focused on how dangerous police are to the average population, he did change the world, and he shouldn't have had to change it by being murdered. He shouldn't have had to change it by becoming a martyr that he did not consent to, right? And so I really just want to recenter that, like, as we've talked about many times on the show, like, there's absolutely a different way that we can play this. There is 100% a different way that we can play this. People do not have to die in order for us to change things, right? People do not have to be murdered in order for us to change things. And it is sad to me and angering to me how many people have gone back to being reactive and complacent. It's really, and even the same people, like these same people talking about, 5 years, George Floyd said nothing about George Floyd's murder last year, right? They're making a big deal out of it in the 5 year, but they didn't make a big deal out of it in the 4 year. And I just wanted to recenter this because I said it this morning in the clubhouse room, but this week for me always hits really hard. And then just yesterday or 2 days ago, the federal mandates for reforming the Minneapolis Police Department and like actually forcing them to be somewhat better and not kill people has been repealed. So, this is 5 years later. And yeah, so that's all. And I just encourage you to remember and share Millie McGee. Pictures of him in his joy, right? There's a pretty infamous picture of him with his daughter, and some other images that I found floating around on threads and beyond. But no one should have to. The world that we want to live in isn't the world where the police officer is in jail, right? Sitting in jail, wasting away. It's a world where George Floyd didn't have to get murdered in the first place. So that's all.
Why do you think we live in such a punitive society?
Because I think, so to me, that question, and we quote it a lot. Oh, child. Careful. I think it's Shakespeare. Maybe it's Henry VIII. Maybe it's a real quote. I don't remember. It's from some very dead white man. But like, is it better to be feared or to be loved? Right? And I think most people's answer to that, at least in allegedly white people, is to be feared, right? Or people that are in a class that they want to be respected, or they want to feel powerful, or they want to feel, they want to be in the hierarchy, right? Which emergent strategy tells us that we don't need a hierarchy, right? I think that in that world, hierarchy only works if you are feared. And so how do you enforce fear? Well, you enforce pain, right? You enforce suffering, you enforce martyrdom, you enforce starvation. Like, you enforce all of these things in order for people to stay silent, right? And so that's I really feel like it stems from that, like being feared instead of being loved. Because why else? Like if the goal was to be loved, the police wouldn't be murdering people. The country, we would not be doing and funding what we're funding in Gaza, right? We would not be funding that. So yeah, I think it all stems from that.
Yeah. Black fatigue, which is defined as the feelings that melanated people have living in this kind of society. I'm actually going to get the definition of it. I had not heard this until
on TikTok like 2 weeks ago, but I'd never heard of it before that.
Yeah, it's the first book to define and explore the intergenerational impact of systemic racism on the health of Black people and how to combat its pernicious effects. I feel like a lot of what happened to George and what happens to a lot of black and brown people at the hands of ICE and the police is happening to create this kind of propaganda in the world that we are not safe people, that we are not loved and lovable, and that it should be normal to crush the body of someone else. And then that ripples into a black fatigue that lives in the psyches of so many dark-skinned people. And I no longer want to eat that food. I'm sorry that man lost his life. And it says a lot about a society that wants to parade the suffering of people that looks like you in your face. You know, it's a crippling of the mind of the community. It's a crippling of the hope of people in community. It's this general, I'm just talking about black fatigue, but it's a general fatigue that people are feeling in a deep way throughout the country. And I'm very curious about what solutions we're going to find as we walk through fascism and tyranny. They recently, #duh, came down from the courts and said that all of these orders that he was making, a lot of them are not constitutional. And America has been around for hundreds of years based upon a document that didn't blow it up, even though it's based on lies. But the lies were kind of working. Some of his camp, and I'm talking about President Trump, some of his camp is saying that this is intentional, that the breaking is intentional, because there has been a lot of corruption on the part of many political parties and over the years, and a blatant invisibility as it relates to all kinds of people groups. I don't like it when the Republicans say things like, that's identity politics. That's identity politics. They're just playing to identity politics. Who I am in the world influences every fucking thing about me. You don't get a pansexual black, this is my story. This is my song. It's a song praising my Savior all the day long. It's a song that's from the church. So this is how I'm showing up in the world in this particular soul clothing. And there are things that are important to me as it relates to the communities that I'm a part of, to try to separate people from themselves when we all want to be happy, healthy, and free is bullshit to me. I'm very curious because someone this week who will be in my reports, messaged me to ask me about the naughty photos that were over in the 501c3 that supports kids and arts programs. I sent them what I had and said, I'm going to continue in the report. And they were like, well, hope you're doing well. I was like, still looking for support in a very barren land. Still looking for the adults who want to actually do something, not the, I work so much, I'm so tired, these kids, oh my God, I can't do nothing with overwhelmed. But we're going to eventually, and I feel like, Tara, like a lot of people's faces are going to get pressed against the glass. These are very hard-headed motherfuckers. Until COVID, until people actually started getting wheeled out their houses, until their pastors started dying, people didn't sit down. There are people to this day that still acted like it didn't happen, or like it wasn't happening,
or it's not still happening,
while saying R.I.P. and pouring out one for the fucking homies. Crazy. So we're gonna have to figure out what our action plan is, what our strategic action planning is around caring for the communities that will be neglected under this administration, but also not exiting anybody out of the equation. I'm not anti-white. I'm not anti-black. I'm not anti-brown. I'm not anti-anyone. I hope we get our shit together in time to be able to be happy, healthy, and free. What say you about the overlap between community care, community action, and societal justice?
You know, I think, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Jeez. I think our communities currently are a direct response to capitalism, or at least the way that some people do community. And so I really think that there's a, what is wrong? You literally have food in your hands. There's a there there's a lot of community that acts. We were just talking about punitive ways, and I think there's a lot of community that act that way. So societal justice is very interesting to me because I don't think that is an issue.
And we're back.
I gave a bob. We were going to do that. We were not going to do that. So anyway, I think that we could have a conversation about what justice is. And that was quoted in that last thread as well. Like, what does societal justice look like? And how do we organize community underneath of it? And I think that in the last 5 years, where a lot of relationships have gone so parasocial that a lot of people don't actually know to be an authentic community, and a lot of people think that community should be punitive because of the way in which the larger society demands justice, right? In the larger society's brain, the justice equals punishment, right? Justice, like, did something bad, you get punished for it, end of story, right? And so I think we can ask different questions to create different communities and create different ideology of society's justice, right? Does that make sense?
What was the last part?
Society's justice.
Yeah.
Like I think
Yeah.
the ideology has to change on a small, like in the same way that like, right, it starts with us. Like you and I, over the last 4 years have become more aligned with each other, and of course we still have disagreements, but there are fundamental ways in which we align, like wholeness or law of attraction or these kind of things, right? And I think that
But you can't get there without a healthy conversation and a healthy set of
right,
boundaries.
and that's, you know, like one, you plus one, two or three are gathered, then it's 4, then it's 5, then it's 6. It's always that kind of like one at a time in order to change the larger world, you know, to see a world that we want to actually live in.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. You're up next on creation.
Yeah, so the next
joy.
slide is a thread, and this is, you know, one of those things where I'm like, let's bring some joy. So this says the joy of creation shouldn't be a secret, especially for creatives. Talk about your work and the things that light you up. Share what's inspiring you, the stories you're drawn to. It matters. And on Throat Chakra Day, I think this is a good thread to bring, but I also just like, I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, we've kind of talking around about this all week of like, how do we want to show up, and how can we talk about these things and remain in the joy, and like with all the things that are going on against us and for us, and how do we show up in the joy of creation? Because at the end of the day, many of the people that we meet and come across and connect with are artists, and they are artists with throat chakras that are partially closed or completely closed, and they don't want to talk about their art, and they don't want to talk, like they don't want to speak. And it matters, as this thread says. It matters that we talk about what we're doing, and that's an internal message to me and an external message to you, right? So, yeah.
You're going to feel better expressing yourself. Right. You're going to feel better, you know. One of the chief messages that I hear from a lot of loved ones, clients, aliens on the moon is that they don't feel heard and understood. Mostly because they don't feel heard and understood by themselves, but they definitely don't feel heard and understood by the world around them. And the first question that I always go to in coaching is, have you told them? Have you told me? Do people even know who you really are? We talked this morning in the AM room over on Clubhouse about legacy and how you will be remembered and what people will say that you did with your life and how you express yourself and what your professions were in your earthly life and your humanly lived experience. And unless you know how to express your I am, you're never going to feel the joy of creation. Because the joy of creation is, I am this, you know, right now I am a speaker, powerful speaker. Sometimes I'm a singer. Sometimes I'm a poet. Sometimes I'm humming, you know. But all of that comes from being okay with who you are. And being okay with who you are allows you to say, hi, my name is such and such, and I am doing this with my life in the world. And then after that, we can come into agreement. Juicy, juicy, juicy. Speaking of enough agreement, is there enough? I want to give a shout out this week to my brother Daniel over on Clubhouse, who's introducing a philosophy concept of the opposite of war being in agreement. And is there enough agreement in our organization? Is there enough agreement on the planet? Is there enough agreement in community? Is there enough agreement inside of yourself to manifest the good we seek in our lives and in the world? And I've just been toying with this idea of is there enough for the last week and a half or so. And it's radically changing my life. Most people are walking around in life thinking that they don't have enough of a certain thing. And it plagues their day. And it's part of the 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts that we have. And a lot of them are stinking thinking, I would change my life if my lover behaved in the way I wanted him to. I would change my life if I had more money. I would change my life if I had more time. I would live life differently if these people weren't getting on my nerves, or if I had a fully working stove, and all these other things that we kind of put as like everyday obsessions that just preoccupy our minds to the point to where we can't be fruitful. We cannot be fruitful because we think that we are living a life of scarcity. Is there enough breath in your body today to be hopeful? Is there enough support around you to feel an updraft of encouragement? Is there enough self-love in your heart to tell yourself that you can keep going? Is there enough confidence in you to recognize that you've survived every day up until now? And Tara's dearly departed grandma would also teach us that you're going to survive all of the ones in the future as well. At least up till 94. Rest in peace, Grandma Dolores. We're going to get to where we're going. The question is how. And if moving from this place of deficiency is not making you feel good, you might owe it to yourself today to pick up a different thought. And this is something I'm adding to my woo-woo toolkit. When I look at my life, oh my goodness, like, how I'm going to grow this dream. I have to always start with where I am in the present moment, the current bank account, the current network, the current wealth index, and see if there's enough opportunity in the present moment to bridge myself into that quantum field that we talk about in our network, this space where you're doing great. You're actually having the life and the conversations and the opportunities and the expressions that you say you want to have, so that you're not a liar to yourself first and then feeling like an imposter in the world. I no longer teach about imposter syndrome. I no longer talk about it because I'm no longer lying to the world about who I am. What you see is what you get. Loved and lovable. You do not have to walk around in the world today feeling like an imposter if you just commit to telling the truth about who you are. And if who you are is not aligned with who you really want to be, and start squaring it away, folks. Start looking at your life. In a lot of 12-step traditions, they call it a inventory. Start taking an inventory and just being like, yo, this is who I am. This is also who I want to be. And I need to get more aligned with who I want to be, so that I don't feel like a liar amongst my peers and the people that I'm supposed to sell myself to. What is this lifting up for you? What has this is there enough conversation? Has it rooted? Has it, like, how do you relate to it? Is it something that's wagging your tail, or have you heard it before?
Yeah, I mean, I think a basic premise that I have lived on for a long time is that everyone is so enough that it hurts, right? Like whatever they are doing, it is enough. I think where this lands for me is like, like you said, the inventory personally, right? Like, it's not for me to judge for another person if they have enough of whatever they're trying to do. It is for me to ask myself, is there enough motivation? Is there enough uh, is there enough interest? Is there enough money? Is there enough? Like, it is a personal look inside, right? It's that internal scorecard that you sort of talk about quite a bit. That I think is really really helpful, and I think, you know, one of the things that I love about personal development and the direction that it's going as of late is how simple the concept can be, and how we can just take that very very simple concept to help ourselves, right? Like, this is a simple question that can go on and on. Like, for me, is there enough quiet? Is there enough time for me? Is there enough balance? Is there enough is there enough work? Is there enough joy, right? Like, is there enough boundary? Are there enough sippy cups? Is there enough drool? You know, like, my child is making noises over there, going and progressively drooling more. So I like that this is an internal exercise that people can use to help themselves, I think, and it's a very simple exercise, as opposed to some of them which get a little bit ballooned.
Yeah, sometimes we can get overwhelmed when we start making these concepts that are supposed to help enrich our lives so complex that it becomes part of the overthinking issue. Which brings up the question, is there enough clarity? You know, is there enough inner wisdom? Is there enough self-trust? Do you have enough self-trust today to encourage, equip, and empower yourself to live your dream? And I mean, that's been the biggest one I've been asking myself, just walking around the house, in the shower, you know, eating the banana, like whatever. Like, is there enough self-trust? Do I trust myself enough to just push out into the dream? And the answer that's coming to me after many years of wrestling this thing is, yeah, there's enough self-trust to keep going. There's enough self-trust to not give up on that dream. There's enough self-trust to keep showing up. There's enough confidence to make a way where there may seem to be no way. But y'all know there's always a way. There's always a way.
If you want
just
it,
make sure that your child, you can want it if you can have it if you really want it.
If you want it, you can wait. If you
can have it if you really want it. Yeah, I did it weird. You can have it
if you really want it. But
you got to try and try and try. And I've talked about this on the podcast before. I talked about it on Clubhouse and beyond. My Clubhouse husband, who I adore, shout out to Poppy Water and the House of Mommy Water. You know, we have very simple agreements in our relationship that's kept us together for multiple years.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it is that we try love, which is a quote from the late great ancestor Toni Morrison. She said, we owe it to ourselves to try love. We owe it to ourselves to experiment with different kinds of love with the people that we're in. Tara and I are probably in like the 22nd version of our relationship because we try love differently to get the combination right. No one's going to be the same. If she's the same person she is today, 10 years from now, I will be like majorly disappointed. And I don't try to breed disappointment in my relationships. But if the lady doesn't evolve and grow and mature and become more of herself and more of her joy and more of her passion, oh my God. Let's not do that, shall we?
Let's not. That would be a boring life.
Well, beyond boring, just like, well, yeah, boring. Yeah, not what's beyond boring. We also know, though, from the emotional guidance scales that if boredom is the thing that's taking you out today, I want to encourage you to get on my wait list because we're going to be talking about boredom and how to turn that boredom in your business and in your relationships and in your friendships, because some of y'all act out because you're just fucking bored. We're going to figure out
Or
a way.
you haven't had no water. Some of y'all need to go have a glass of water, including my kid.
Don't mind if I do.
As we're playing with boobles. Boobles.
So yeah, lots of things that can throw you off, including spiritual illness. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because a lot of you, and I go into all kinds of digital spaces, a lot of you are cloaking your mental illness behind spirituality.
Talk about it.
Yeah, and I brought this topic today because it's not cute.
It's not cute at all.
It's not cute. To sit on a stage for hours and to accuse trans people and homosexual people and people minding their business, having happy, healthy, and free lives, of being demonically possessed and having something wrong with them is spiritual illness and mental illness. And we really have to talk about it. Like myself, a lot of you have had familial trauma and abuse by family members and strangers. On behalf of all of us here in Love in Action Network, especially the healing practitioners, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry that happened to us. It is no reason to then turn around and use white Jesus to make me feel bad about my happy life. If you look behind me on the wall, and it's not in the shot right there, but the Instagram folks can get it, there's a man, another human being who loves me and would burn this town to the ground in my name and honor. You're not going to call love and protection and care harm anymore just because you don't have the mental to have it for yourself. Y'all got to stop demonizing people who are minding their business because you used white Jesus to save you from a wicked and lustful lifestyle. Just say that you had no control over your impulses. Just say that you were laying down with demon dick and getting chlamydia and gonorrhea, and syphilis in the ways that I did. Just own the fact that you were not happy being a hoe. That there was something about your upbringing, something about your psychology that did not want to embrace pleasure in that way. And because your mama told you that good girls have a low body count, you put yourself in that prison. Like, can we talk very clearly about, and we've been very clear. People don't like when I talk about this. They think it's crass. Why you always talk about your dick? Why you always bringing up da-da-da-da? I mean, I didn't touch myself with pleasure fully until I was 21, 22 years old. And nothing about that is healthy sexual exploration, but every day, I would call them well-meaning, but they're not. Every day, adults in society are telling younger adolescent children and people how to not have body autonomy in church context. And then some of them grow up to not even have positive relationships with their body because of a religious spiritual illness that has metastasized into mental illness. I want everyone in the room to, I don't believe in running around the pool or running on the stage because it's a liability, but you need to walk swiftly. and look up this book. We're going to do a book club about it because these people have lost their whole shit. It's by Andrew Newberg. It's called How God Changes Your Brain. And I'm going to start reading it. Dr. Andrew Newberg, How God Changes Your Brain, and how some people are trying to like feel better than you or tell you what to do or judge you, because this lady told me this week on Clubhouse that she walked in the spirit and I was in the carnal flesh, so I would never be able to understand her because she was a spiritual person that had healed from all of my demons. But because I was carnal and in my flesh nature, I would never be able to comprehend where the fuck she was at. And I'm like, where you're at is sounding like a harmed person. You sound like a wounded animal that had a lot happen to you, and there's not any kind of spirituality or religious kind of rhetoric that's going to heal that unless you're prepared to have real conversation. And I feel like a lot of people we talked in this podcast about spiritual bypassing. Like, some of y'all are not okay. And, you know, I know that we sing, or we used to sing, that Jesus is the answer, but get your ass in a therapeutic condition so you can heal enough to stop hurting people in the name of Jesus.
If Jesus was who you said he was, then he wouldn't want you to hurt people. Y'all have a concept of Jesus.
It's wild. He was out here trying to feed people and clothe people, and they hung him.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But you want me? Oh my God! Let's not even get to that. But you want me to follow Jesus? But what? Like, to where? You know, crucifixion. I told y'all before. I'm not dying for y'all. I'm gonna go. But I'm not going for y'all. I don't have a Jesus complex. You know.
But I'm not going.
And apparently he has a dream girls complex.
Exactly.
We've been boldly declaiming We've been boldly proclaiming and declaring. Declaring and proclaiming comes out as declaiming. We have been boldly declaring ceasefire now for over a year. Year, maybe up to 2 years. Y'all are mumbling. Y'all are acting like you don't know what's going on. Y'all are still scared of Zionist and Jewish people. The kid agrees. And it's really wild that there has not been a conversation around the ceasing of harm and the building of hope. People want me to know, every day online, people want me to be acutely aware that they're smart and intelligent and talented, and they can sing too, and they can talk too, and they can use big words too. But there's 3 words that we've been saying for a long time. Ceasefire now. And we talk about it. We've expanded it here. It's not just the bombs that are dropping in Gaza and the digital warfare that's happening through the removement of our constitutional right to free speech online. We also talk a lot about matters of the heart. And I used to say that nobody's talking about this. We're talking about this, and we're going to align with more people who want to talk about it. Of all the solutions on the planet to go with, dropping bombs out the sky is the best one that capitalism can afford. And I don't stand for that.
So the back one should have a link. But I'll read that front one first. What's happening in Sudan, Congo, and Gaza is not complicated. Genocide is not complicated. Imperialism is not complicated. White hegemony is not complicated. I think that's a typo. Settler colonialism is not complicated. Just so y'all know, it's not complicated. It's also not complicated to say ceasefire now. It's not. It's really not. This back one, Dr. Flo sent this into the Deconstruction chat in our public-facing WhatsApp group. And it is Cindy McCain on gut, and it says we can't just sit back and let these people starve to death. And I watched the video, which I will summarize. Basically, it's what she says. She says the international community needs to pressure Israel to let aid in a sustained way, and they ask her very directly. And this is the part that I hope a lot of people get to. They ask her directly, like, is Hamas stealing the food? And she says this has nothing to do with Hamas. She said Israel is not letting the aid in. Israel, they're not getting food. They are being starved. And so anyway, that's a great video to go watch if you have, I guess, questions. But as it says, it's not complicated. It's not complicated that these people are being starved to death. You know?
Let's see what the good lady says.
And it needs to be going to the correct places. So the various gates, it's inconsistent as to how the gates are open. It's inconsistent as to the roads we can use. The roads that are the better roads, the ones that can get us further along, aren't open at all. It's complicated right now. And again, I will tell anybody who will listen, we need to get in at scale and be allowed to feed these people before a further catastrophe occurs.
Your organization announced at least 15 of your trucks were looted when they entered southern Gaza en route to bakeries. Israel has consistently said that the looting is being carried out by Hamas. Have you seen evidence that it is Hamas stealing the food?
No, not at all. Not in this round. Listen, these people are desperate, and they see a World Food Program truck coming in, and they run for it. This doesn't have anything to do with Hamas or any kind of organized crime or anything. It has simply to do with the fact that these people are starving to death. And so we will continue to go in. We will continue to go in with food and the kinds of supplies that we need to help the bakeries operate and make sure that we can continue to do that and hopefully be able to do more of it. But again, we can't do this unless the world community puts pressure on this. We can't be allowed to sit back and watch these people starve to death with no outside diplomatic influence to help us. These poor souls are really, really, really desperate. And, having been in a food riot myself some years ago, I understand the desperation very well.
Well, 5 days ago, Prime Minister.
All right, I'm going to let people come back to that on their own. I've never understood how y'all are letting the bullies called Hamas govern people who are not bullies' ability to eat. That's nuts to me. It's like nobody gets to have lunch at school because the bullies took all the lunch money. And that's not how food operates. That's not how humanitarian care operates. We know genocide when we see it. We know eugenics when we see it. We know colonialism when we see it. We know evil when we see it. And no amount of yelling at me on Clubhouse or sending me crazy messages or whatever is going to change the fact that there are just certain cultures of people who lack empathy for others. And it's going to take us, me, you, we, to continue to apply that pressure that woman was talking about. It's nuts to me that, people are starving, and because you feel like the price of your groceries is going up and you're having to focus on how you're going to eat, which, Tara and her business and me and my business privately are focused in on our ability to eat, but to not also speak up for someone else who does not have access to the technology that we have access to. Like, they can't do live streams in Gaza right now because of the desecration of whole community spaces and the killing of their children. So they don't have if someone came in and bombed every kid and kills every kid in my neighborhood, I wouldn't have the emotional fortitude to go out here and do it. They're asking that we raise voice, and that's why we keep coming in here every week and frankly making those of you who don't speak up look foolish. And I'm going to talk to you about it in my talkbacks and my shows. I'm going to talk to you about it in my private conversations. Don't come and have dinner with me unless you are prepared to answer the question about what are you doing about the genocides all over the world and this money grab that's happening from oligarchs. People who could care less about my black ass and your white ass. They don't care about our suffering. Zuckerberg has built a bunker that I'm sure is very much supplied with all of his favorite snacks. He doesn't care about the separation and the isolation that people feel. Ceasefire now to that too. And y'all are, invited to our WhatsApp community where we're texting each other, throughout the day to kind of stay in this human race.
Oh, this relates. So maybe Miss Rachel. If you're a parent, you may have heard of Miss Rachel. Never watched Miss Rachel, but she is very popular in the online space for distracting your children and being very sweet. And anyway, Miss Rachel also gave birth not so long ago, and she is choosing to use her very large platform to discuss Gaza. She features videos of children from Gaza who are amputees. She's been doing it. So this is leaders. Be so ashamed of your silence. Be so ashamed that you've seen the images and videos. We've seen that they haven't moved you to do the right thing. Be so ashamed that you normally speak out for children and human rights, but won't now because they are Palestinian. Be so ashamed that you don't see children like my friend Rahaf. I don't know if I said that right, y'all. Like you see other children. Be so ashamed of your anti-Palestinian racism. And yeah, so I wanted to highlight, there's been a lot of conversation about Miss Rachel, and Miss Rachel has definitely lost a lot of support, but she is standing firm even after just having a baby. And so this is just to say, those of you that are so scared to speak out because, oh my God, people might unfollow you, you will survive. And in fact, there will be supporters on the other side of it. Like us saying ceasefire now. You're not alone. You are not alone. You're not alone.
What's wild is all of these people out here beating their chest in front of their kids and in the community, acting like they got a backbone. They're not these adults are not standing up for what's right. Y'all are whispering. I don't like it. And my question is, what comes next? After the whispering, after the murmuring, after the complaining, after the blame spiral. We talked last week in our community about the blame spiral. One of the major storms that people have in their lives is the blame spiral. You're blaming everybody else for what's going wrong in your life and in the world. Is there enough hope to ask the question of what comes next? What comes next?
What comes next?
What comes next? Will there be joy in the morning?
Right.
And
what
will
world
we be present to that?
Yeah. What world can you imagine?
Right.
I feel like we quote this every week. Like Christiana Smith talks about collective imagination and imagining, like, and that's the first step, is being able to imagine something other than what we're living in. And actually, there's a video that I have to send you that discusses how Harriet Tubman manifested a different world. She just decided, no, this will no longer be the world that I live in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And she, obviously, we all know her name. Right. And so yeah, what comes next? What is after? What, like, what, and even if you want to maybe do it in a more, you know, like, okay, if I say ceasefire now and I lose a bunch of followers, ask yourself, what comes after that? What comes after that? Like, what comes after that initial fear? Usually it's support, right? Usually it's help. Usually it's making yourself feel a little bit better, right? Oh boy. So
what do you
yeah,
think the core fear is?
I think the core fear for a lot of people, and I see this all over the place, being well, and this is interesting because it's not actually true, right? And we know fear is false evidence appearing real, right? But I think a lot of people are afraid to say things incorrectly, or afraid to be wrong, or to be called out for being wrong, right? To be noticed for being wrong, I think is the core fear, to be seen, but you're wrong. But at the same time, I don't think that people realize that the silence, like, you're so fearful of being wrong, but your silence is making you wrong. Right? So like, we, and those, you may not know it, but some of us are over here looking at you side-eyed and saying, I don't want to work with you because you're sitting there engaging with all white ass shit that doesn't, you know, allegedly white, that doesn't say ceasefire now, but you're also scrolling right past a whole bunch of people saying ceasefire now, right? And we see that too. So like, you know, I think that the fear is, and I've learned this over the years, like, being so fearful of, you know, like, this is stupid, but like, being so fearful of posting something out of order, or posting something at an inappropriate time. And I'm still trying to get over the inappropriate time thing. But like, honestly, if it posts out of order, guess what? It still got me 6 people into my community. So like, what comes next?
Is this anecdotal? Did this happen to you?
Oh, that happened. The Aria post that got 6 people into blackening the canon, that was all sorts of out of order. Meta Business Suite said, I will not post it in that order that you determined, and it posted it all out of order. It didn't make a lick of sense. But I can tell you, I'm still here to live the tale. Okay.
Yeah, and I believe there are parts of this that we can predict or seek to predict, and then there are other parts of life that's just completely wrapped in serendipity, and that's the adventure part. You know, y'all know that I teach the pursuit and happiness within great sex, great food, and great adventures. And just letting life happen and be pleasantly surprised by the outcome, including those 6 people in blackening the canon, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. It's part of the adventure of life, and I love it. I love it. My Love Revival and Academy will be coming to your community very, very soon, because I'm getting out of my own way. They're very simple messages of hope and simple songs of hope that I want to sing over the world. And Dr. Flo's Dream Rehab will be coming to communities where we can just sit down and talk about the things that are important to you, the ways in which you want to joyfully make money, and the stories you want to tell before you get out of here. And by out of here, I mean leave the planet. I cannot wait to see y'all as this particular guy out on the road. And it's going to be fun to lead kids of all ages into their creative process, and hopefully leave them behind with some kind of program that they can continue to uplift the stories in their community. We have not, and by we, I mean I have not done a great job of promoting these artists. We have about a dozen Black artists who reached out to our network for support in various ways. We have run all of their content and requests so far, but there is a rotation that we want to get them in. We will continue to provide love and support to those artists and also seek out other artists of the darker variety, because you lighter humans can just walk into a room and get special attention and talk over people. It is Black artists that often are neglected, and so we are seeking to bring attention and awareness to those who are overlooked or made invisible by the status quo. If you're interested in supporting Black artists or being featured yourself, go to our website, lovedandlovable.bio.link, lovedandlovable.bio.link, lovedandlovable.bio.link. We would love to get to know you better and to support you. I'm also hiring for the Academy and the Love Experience. I can't do everything on my own, y'all, so I'm leaning into those who are diverse, those who want to celebrate the power of love through music, theater, and art, and those who just want to have a great day. Some of those people are over in our Clubhouse community. They just stop by for about 15 minutes, 11 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Eastern. Of course, we're here today, and some of them came over. But it's all about celebrating life. And if you're interested in working in a profit-sharing arrangement with our team, and or just volunteering your time because it's better than whatever you got going on, I would invite you to go to the website, send me a WhatsApp for now, or send me an email telling me that you're interested, or send me a text. It's all good. Hopefully by the end of the weekend, I'll have up some portals and spaces where you can just go in and let me know how you want to plug into our awesome, including the blackening of the Canon project that Tara Praolo Studio and her foundation are championing. I'll let her tell you more about it, but we are looking for people who want to have a healthy conversation, and that includes this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yay. So, more and more, as Dr. Flo and I talked about this in his Unfuckwithable program, which is available to all of you for $25 a week. Actually, it's not available to all of you. It's available to those of you that are honest, open, willing, and available. Okay. But anyway, blackening the canon.
And it costs way more than that. That's just what most people pay to keep my interest. But yeah, Unfuckwithable. Got to jump into it, because some people like talking about their dreams, and then they talk themselves out of their dream. Becoming unfuckwithable means that you are not talking yourself or letting other people talk you out of fabulous projects. Tara has been talking herself in and out of her experiences from college as a Black student who didn't feel completely seen in her voice and in the songs that she was being asked to perform. And so in her own special way, she is illuminating her own path, but also helping to illuminate the paths of those who are coming behind her in classical music. Lots of overlooked composers, a lot of overlooked performers. And so we're bringing awareness. And I didn't know there were 6 new members.
From a while ago, but yeah. There's someone that joined that I don't know who they are yet because they haven't introduced themselves. But anyway, as I talk more about it with Dr. Flo, I find so much more that it is about the identity of the people that are wanting to sing this repertoire, and the identity of the composers, and it's really an identity journey, even as opposed to like a representation journey. It is that as well. Right now it is a group chat over on WhatsApp. It will soon hopefully be conversations that are publicized to you all, probably via Substack. Probably I will update at some point. And then also my album will be coming out sooner than you think, in June sometime. And so that will be the next step in blackening my canon of repertoire. So that is on the way. So those are the Blackening the Canon updates.
I'm super excited about the conversations that will spring more inspiration in the hearts of the people that participate. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to all of the seeds that will grow in our garden. If you're interested in planting and growing a digital garden with us, we are on
Make your
Roblox.
garden grow.
Join us on Roblox if you'd like to receive some free produce to get your bank going. For those of you who are growing and selling vegetables in our Roblox gardens, we would love to have you in that part of our fun as well. We're not serious all the time. We play a lot, we joke a lot, but we're also guided towards manifestation of our dreams in a real and impactful way for ourselves and the community. Closing thoughts, Olo, on how today's unfolded.
We need all of it. We need joy. We need imagination. We need what comes next, and we need enough. Those are my closing thoughts. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
with the recognition, with the recognition, that's funny. I'm like not immortal sometimes. With the recognition that abundance is having everything you need when you need it, and a deeper recognition that you could get it if you really want it. But as we said earlier, you got to try. So give yourself the freedom, give yourself the love of trying something new today. Don't be afraid of failing. Don't be afraid of making a mistake. Don't be afraid of telling people that they're loved and lovable. And don't be afraid to connect with all of us here in the network, because we want you encouraged, equipped, and empowered. And we want you to know that good things can happen to you if you think about them first. On behalf of Terra Olo Studio, Poppy Water 33, myself, Andre, and the Flow, and everybody who is a healing practitioner here at Love and Action Network and follower of this journey that's taken us 25 years forward. Some would say 25,000 years forward. And yeah, we're really, really grateful for all of our participants and all of our donors and sponsors and producers and friends. Thank y'all always for holding space for love daily with us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your words of encouragement. Thank you for your support in what has been some emotionally turbulent times for all of us here in the community, who are still leading with grace in the face of loss and life change. We're very, very grateful that we believe in ourselves enough to keep going, even when life is not perfect. And no one's life is perfect, but sometimes storms happen, and it's good to know that friends, encouraging friends, exist. So whether you're in Nigeria or Pennsylvania or Minnesota or North Carolina or New York or any other of the places that we rep, I hope that you choose today to stay in your power. Stay in your joy. Stay loved and lovable, whatever that means for you. For us, it means being honest, open, willing, and available. And with all of those ingredients, you're going to make a fabulous dish that is your life. We will see you very, very soon around our fantastic network.